Well, we should be live again now, so if we'll give somebody a chance to jump on and let us know that we are actually hearable right now. So that would help a lot. Actually, Emily, would you mind checking the stream and making sure you can hear us? Thanks. So welcome. This is Madison's exit interview. We already started once a little bit, and then somebody let us know that you couldn't actually hear us. So we're trying again now. We adjusted some stuff. We had a different microphone set up in the beginning, but yeah, like I said the first time, we'll just breeze through what we started with.
Yeah,
all right. So one of our core values is transparency. And it's really easy to say that your value is transparency. It's much harder to do it. So the exit interview is typically the time when an organization or company or whatever interviews an employee who's leaving to find out what we can do better, right? Because you don't have a horse in the race any longer.
Just
right?
burn these bridges.
You can burn all these bridges right to the ground.
Just arson,
and it doesn't matter. And so we just want to be open about that. We know that there are things that we can do better. That wouldn't surprise us at all. And so I haven't coached Maddie on anything to say, and we just want to have an honest and vulnerable, transparent conversation here.
Yeah.
So Maddie's been with us for the past 10 weeks. It's been a great experience for us, and just had a lot of cool opportunities. We prayed before we started last time, and then that wasn't for show, that was already real. So we don't need to do that again.
I don't need to do it again. We're very spiritual.
This is already a spiritual experience covered.
Yeah.
So let's just dive right in. So we talked a little bit before we found out that they couldn't hear us about just kind of like the home life experience. So you had a unique opportunity where you lived with us as well as worked with us full time. So just briefly again, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I didn't say this last time, but I really think that added to the immersion of the experience, because I got to not only see like what it looks like professionally for you to run this organization and build it, but I also got to see like you guys, like actually praying for it at home and actually like asking God for guidance and direction. And I got to like ask more questions because we had that time together in the house and stuff like that. And yeah, I feel like I got another side of the spiritual aspect of the ministry, and like seeing more how you guys connect with God and how that informs the way that you practice ministry. And that was really cool because I feel like I got to ask questions that I wouldn't otherwise have gotten to ask.
Sure, yeah. We talked like a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot of talking.
It was.
Over 10 weeks.
It was a lot.
Like hours and
hours.
Yeah.
I had a lot of questions.
Which was great. So did you encounter anything kind of in that sphere of your experience that was unexpected for you?
Yeah, like, I feel like I have never been in an environment that practiced spirituality the way that you guys do. And it's not that this is like an abnormal way of practicing spirituality and connecting with God and praying and things like that. It's just that like you guys really live out the value of praying without ceasing and asking God to inform every step of the way. Like we start every morning, not just like doing a devotion for the sake of going through the motions, but like legitimately asking God to prioritize our task lists for us, so that we're not like wasting times on things that aren't going to be productive to the organization and God's plan for it and things like that. And so it wasn't like necessarily surprising, but I wasn't expecting it, just because I didn't know what to expect. And so, that definitely like opened my eyes up to this side of Christianity that I hadn't been, at least I haven't been experienced in. Not that I didn't know about, but that I hadn't like experienced firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like talk about how that was reflected like at home. Like what was like the practical experience of that?
Of like the prayer?
Yeah.
Like that? Yeah, so like...
Was it a lot? Was it like hard to adjust to?
It wasn't hard to adjust to. It was just like fascinating at first because I was like, are they just like in a constant state of meditation? like what's going on in their brains? Stuff like that. But it was just like this go-to where it's like, like my stomach hurts, like will you pray for me? Or just like every night, like let's ask God to like bless Zanesville. Let's ask God to like open our eyes to what he's doing in our community, in our family. Like, let's thank God for different things. It's just like the go-to. And that was like really cool and encouraging to see, because it's like the faith is so there and real that it's undeniable. It's not like you theoretically have faith. It's like, it's genuinely going to inform what you do the next day and the next step you take. And it's like your go-to option for problem solving and for, connection.
Yeah. That's cool. And you don't have to talk about anything that you don't want to talk about. You get to drive here.
Right.
But did you see anything like anything surprising happen in prayer? that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, so I've never really I've had encounters with God where I feel like I've heard God speak to me, and where I felt like God is definitely guiding me in this situation, but they're very few and far between, and I feel like a lot of times when I'm praying, I'm like forcing the situation, where I'm like forcing something to come into my mind for God to show up. But like, I feel like you guys really mentored me in that area, and kind of like allowed me to see different sides of prayer that made it so that I could just invite God into the space and to permeate my mind for the moment. And I didn't necessarily feel the Holy Spirit physically like I wanted to, but I started to be able to see images and see, I describe them as GIFs.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when God talks to me, it's not like I see a picture of something or a video. It's like I just see this one thing over and over again, and I don't necessarily, it's very out of context usually. And I'd never really had that experience, or if I had and God had talked to me like that, I hadn't been able to identify it. And so just letting God take control of my imagination and recognizing that it is possible for me to interject my own thoughts into what I think God is telling me, but to just let God lead in those moments. And so yeah, that was just really surprising and something that I hadn't expected to learn.
Yeah, that's neat. That's really neat. And so I had you read 3 books over the course of the summer, right? I think it was Sit, Walk, Stand by Watchman Nee, and The Pursuit of God by A.W. Tozer, and Hearing God by Dallas Willard, right? So of those 3 books, which one was the most helpful for you?
I don't know. I think that each of them was definitely very important for me to read at the specific time that I read it, because over this summer, it was a short amount of time. It was only just under 3 months or something like that.
Yeah.
And it feels like I went through a lot of different stages of spiritual development through that. And so in Sit, Walk, Stand, I kind of just learned about the different postures of Christianity and how, and just the different ways of going about your connection with God. And then in The Pursuit of God, The Pursuit of God, it just met me where I was at in every instance, I feel. And so I think that I got at least some kind of tip out of each one, for lack of better words.
Sure.
I think that I went through several different stages of spirituality, and I came into this really feeling like God had told me that I should make this move. And I was just feeling really stretched spiritually, and there was some kind of stirring, I was getting too comfortable, and God had a big growth experience for me coming up, and I just had to take some kind of initiative. And so I was I think I should go to Zanesville, and I emailed you guys, and it just kind of all happened at once, it felt like.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like God set up this summer to happen, for that, spiritual development, and for that, and for these experiences even professionally, because I have so much more to add to my resume now. And yeah, I just think that God knew that this would be a productive summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you talk about stages of spirituality, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I came into this summer thinking that, God had told me to come here, but I also was not sure how I felt about God in the moment, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I was kind of in this spot where it's okay, I think that God exists, and I think that God is basically good. I'm not sure how I feel about the Bible necessarily, it felt like there were a lot of reasons not to believe that the Bible was true, and there were a lot of reasons to believe that it was true. And so I was kind of in this awkward middle ground where it's well, I don't want to just be hoaxed into believing in something, either way, and I also don't want to believe something just because it's what my parents have believed, or because that's what I've grown up with. But then I came into this experience and I was just immersed into this like environment where God was so active and working like so obviously that it's kind of like, how do you not believe? You know what I mean? And so yeah, as far as like the stages of spirituality, I just like came into this very raw and open to anything. I didn't have anything to prove about God. I didn't really like care what the answer was. I just wanted to know. I wanted to do something productive. I wanted to learn something, and I wanted God to show up or not show up, and me to have some kind of answer that way. And then like I just kind of was stretched further and further throughout the summer, and I anticipate continuing to be stretched like after this. I think it was at the very least a good springboard for like the next season of spiritual growth.
Yeah, what do you think you carry with you from here?
You know how when you go to church camp and you leave and you're just like really excited about Jesus and stuff?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like that, but a little bit more like settled in. And so like I think that I'm going to go into I definitely am going into the next stage of life looking at things differently. I see like the spiritual side of regular situations a lot more clearly than I did before, and just like the way that God is working, like I want to be in on that. I don't want to just like let things happen to me, or even like try to control a situation out of my own will. Like when I see an injustice happening, or when I am like in a classroom space and we're having a discussion, I want to think first, like what does God think about this? And I really think that I'm just naturally thinking that way now. And so I'm really excited to see how that informs the way that I live in the next stage of life, because it's both a conscious effort and something that's just happening now.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. Well, let's talk about like the professional side of things. So I'm going to pull up this email that you sent me before. So before you came, I asked you to identify 3 hard skills and 3 soft skills that you'd like to improve over the course of the internship.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the hard skills, you said that you want to learn how to use design programs other than Canva.
Yeah.
Did you accomplish that?
I definitely accomplished that.
All right.
Yeah, because we like made this video, of us building the cabin, and they're like, you're gonna make that. And like at first when we started building, I was like, but am I really gonna make it though? Because I was like, I don't know how to use this thing at all. And so like I bet you like in the coaching, like I'll make some of it, but you were like, no, like I'll show you how to use this stuff, but you're making it. And that was definitely the way to do it, because it took me longer than it would have taken you guys for sure.
Yeah.
But like I learned this program, and I'm not really like I'm not like scared of the terms that you use to like describe these programs and stuff anymore. Like it's not so obscure to me, and I really feel like moving forward I would be able to like adapt to new programs like that again.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next thing you said was to understand the logistics of what it looks like to run a ministry or a nonprofit, as far as like project management skills.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah.
Did you do that?
Yeah. I think that I always knew that there were like less glamorous things behind running a ministry, because usually like what the public sees is like, like the worship nights and like the, like the stuff that you
Sure.
Instagram live about, the stuff that you post about. But then there's like the office work.
The exit interviews.
Right,
things
yeah.
like that, yeah.
But then there's like the office work that's less like Instagram worthy, and there's like just like spending intentional time in prayer and like logistical things and meetings and stuff like that I wanted to know how that goes and how to handle those professionally, because I do eventually want to work in some kind of nonprofit space. And like, I mean, if that's what God has for me, and I think it is, but yeah, and so I wanted to like have a better handle on that and not just go into that kind of situation with the knowledge of what is seen on social media and what like is seen in the actual product of ministry, but like how you get there, and like definitely walk me through all of those steps, I feel, or at least most of those steps.
So how did that change your perspective on nonprofit work?
Like you should never start your own nonprofit.
Good advice, yeah.
And like, I mean, like it makes sense that you did, because this doesn't really exist at least not like widely. And like it's a very original ministry, but like as far as nonprofits go, I think that it makes more sense to like jump into a nonprofit that might be like floundering or something and kind of try to revitalize that than it would be to start a nonprofit. And I think that's a really important lesson for me to learn, because I kind of like maintain the mindset of if you want to do something right, you got to do it yourself.
Sure.
And so like I could totally see myself being like, there's nothing I'm passionate about in this town or whatever, I need to start something, and then it just be like not what I was supposed to do. And so yeah, I think that like, I mean, all of the logistics and everything definitely informed that, and like seeing what fundraising looks like on this kind of scale, because I'd fundraised for things before, but never like in a way where it's like, because we need this, this, and this for the budget, and this is our plan, like in a timeline and stuff, and so this is the amount of money we'll need this date and stuff like that. Like that's kind of overwhelming, and I couldn't handle that on my own for sure. But like it was really cool to like see that for myself.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the third thing you said was to improve your writing and communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
How about that?
How about that?
Yeah, I definitely think that I did that. Yeah, I mean, like, how many times did I like write something and you're like, fix this, and then I fix it, and you're like, okay, fix this.
Yeah.
And so it's like, do you want me to just rewrite it? And you're like, basically. And so I think that like just having like your eyes on this, like you're really good at writing, like you and Melissa are really good at writing, and I really was just hoping that would rub off on me in some way. And so I think that I'm leaving with better writing skills and tips and a better understanding of what good writing is than when I came into it, and like also why to write. Like I wrote out a grant proposal, and you helped me through that process, and I did not know how grant proposals worked before this, and so like I'm definitely moving forward with new skills.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember at one point we were working through the grant, right? And I was being like, encouraging you that like every line has to have value and things like that.
Yeah.
You said something like, I guess I've never really written anything that mattered before, right?
Yeah, like I've written tons of college papers, but like it's basically like, this is good enough for an A, so I'm going to submit it now. It's not like I'm trying to convince someone to give us a large sum of money, so literally every word I say has to be worth reading.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Cool. And then the soft skills, you wanted to expand your understanding of spirituality and the Bible, and we talked about that some already. Learn how to be productive and efficient when working remotely. I think you touched on that a little bit, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't remember if that was this one or the one that they couldn't hear us, but either way,
Yeah.
you feel good about that?
I definitely, for
Okay. And to develop a more joyful perspective.
sure.
How do you feel about that?
Well, you know that I came in with a pretty pessimistic perspective on life. Yeah, I feel like that's definitely improved, because I do, like I said before, like I do see God moving in things much more clearly than I did before, where it's just like, yeah, that's a normal part of life, but now I'm like, no, but like God's in that right now. And that changes everything. And you guys like have this really cool perspective where it's like the kingdom of God is meant to be experienced on earth. It's not just something that like happens after you die. Like not everything right now has to be bad until you go to heaven. And that was like, I guess I knew that, but like having you explain that to me and demonstrate that to me, like changed definitely like the way that I view, like the prospects of the future and stuff like that. Because like, you look at like your bank account and it's low and stuff, and you're like, wow, the future's going to be awful. But that's because you don't imagine that God's going to be in the future, And now I can see that a little bit better. I'm not saying that everything is like rosy and like sunshine and rainbows. I definitely like am going to have bad days and anticipate that. But like, it's not so bad.
That's good.
Yeah.
So some progress at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, cool. And so this question, I really don't know what you're going to say. And I really want this information.
Okay.
When you experience, our culture, whatever that means, like the atmosphere, that we create as an organization. And I guess like, both on like the professional side and just like the way we do community and stuff like that. What values do you think other people coming into this are going to experience? Like, what are they going to walk away saying, oh, they're so fill in the blank there?
Yeah. So like actually, when
Actually, yeah.
Not that I haven't like been actually honest, but like to this point. But like when I'm like when you're like interviewing archier people and stuff like that, and like you know you're like you're gonna have to commit time to this, and like this is gonna be like a real process, and I'm like you need to listen to that because this is going to be hard. And like I think that you have this really cool combination of like you're very spiritually minded and let God lead, but let God lead, important distinction.
Yeah.
but you also like take really strong initiative and like you like go forward with things like very fervently. And like hard work is a really important value of the school that I think like I mean like we have an outline of the values and stuff, but hard work isn't in there, and I think it's just implied in the other values, but like I feel like sometimes it should be explicitly outlined, because this isn't just going to be some kind of like you're going to take these seminars and you know you can write a book if you want. It's like no, we're going to show you how to write a book and you're going to do it. And so like I think that and so I think that people are going to like come away from this surprised at how much progress that they've made.
Yeah.
You know, from the time that they start the classes or start like being involved in the ministry in whatever way, to the time that they leave. And I think that God is in that, and the way that you guys have arranged the ministry is like very helpful to that. And that that just people are going to be surprised at like how well they can actually do things when they you know, like work hard at it, and you have that standard, and that's not really wavering.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not what I expected you to say, but
really?
That's cool. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so some of the things that you did where you wrote a whole grant, right? Which is a big deal. So it takes a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
And you helped us with a lot of social media stuff, some like office and clerical stuff. We built cabin, which was kind of like even in excess to the job part of it, right?
Yeah.
And that was challenging to do both the cabin and that, and then you learned how to cut the video. So really start to finish on that whole thing. Is there anything else that you did that comes to mind? But I know there were little things, but like any big stuff.
Not really.
Yeah. Did any of those things feel like a waste of your time?
No, because like even with the social media stuff, like honestly, I feel like that was like doing the social media stuff is all stuff that I've basically done before, but like that also kind of was the most helpful thing, because I didn't know about like how to schedule things, you know, I didn't know about like how to properly market things in a way that like actually touches people's hearts and not isn't just like here's information. And like just like the programs that you use, like I didn't know about TweetDeck, you know, I didn't know how to schedule tweets and stuff like that, and that's like really practical skills that I am using moving forward. And just like the cabin, like I obviously learned a lot about construction that I didn't think I would learn there, and like when you work in a nonprofit, you're gonna have to know how to change a light bulb and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like not that I just changed a bunch of light bulbs, but like that idea of like you have to have practical skills to do pretty much anything, and like you have to have like the project management skills to know like when to take things one step at a time and when to like look at the bigger picture of things. And then like cutting the video was almost as hard as building the cabin, because it was another thing that I didn't know how to do, that it's like now you're gonna do it. So everything was just like I'm gonna flounder around for a bit until I figure this out, and then I have a product. And that's a really big learning curve every time.
Cool. Well, so you've had access to like everything over the past 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, really everything. We have one small office, and so you hear all my conversations, right? You have access to all of our, even like our bank account stuff, right? Like you're putting in donations and stuff like that, right? So you've seen everything top to bottom. Is there anything that you see that we can do better? Man,
I guess I should have thought about that before this interview.
Yeah,
because I guess
that's
what exit interviews are. Nothing's coming to mind, and I know that's not a productive answer, because like I should give you something. I don't know. Like it's just like it was just like really cool to see that like, I mean, the roofers started while I was here, you know, like
Yeah.
that's like breaking ground basically, like for the, like I'm just like here right in the middle of the initiation process, and so like at this point I can't think of anything. Like it seems like you run everything pretty efficiently and like you know how to manage your time well, which I've never seen someone do remote work because it's remote work.
Sure.
And so like I just got to see that, and you seem very productive with it, and like you know how to manage your time. And I'm like, how do I do that? And I think I got better at that. But yeah, I'm not really sure about like anything you could improve. Like it's just really cool to see the project moving forward, and I feel like I've been able to like experience that in tangible ways. Like I've been able to see like the way the school is developing while I'm here.
Yeah, cool. And you seemed really busy. That's the only reason I was working. I was like, oh, she looks really busy. Like I can't have her look over at me and I'm on Facebook or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah. So did you grow in any ways that you didn't expect while you were here?
Yeah. Like I knew I'd learn things. I just didn't know what I'd learn. I think I like put that in the video, like in the cabin video, because like,
Yeah.
and that was when I was talking about construction, and I mean this like in a broader context of the whole internship. Like I didn't know that I would grow spiritually like this. Like I came into this hoping that I would be able to do something productive for Jesus, and that like maybe I would get to experience God through this organization, because it seemed like from my distant perspective before I was here, like God is in this somehow, and I don't know how to identify it, but I really want to be a part of it. And I wasn't sure if God would show up for me at all, but like he did in bigger ways than I anticipated, and I thought that maybe I would have like a different theological perspective to add to my like bank of knowledge that I'll like read through later and decide what I believe. But like that's not what happened. It was like a genuine like stretching. So yeah, I was just like very surprised by all that.
Yeah, so, you know, part of what I wish we would have done more of is like going out and praying for people like one-on-one. And
COVID.
Yeah, COVID's a thing for sure. And that's a little bit of an excuse. Also, we're just busy with other stuff.
Yeah.
But COVID was definitely a factor in that. But nonetheless, like, we still spent a lot of time praying together. Did you see God come through in anything that you want to share?
I mean, yeah. Trying to think of like a specific anecdote. I mean, like we have prayed for people and like seen actual like immediate results. I think, like, you know, like people's pain leaving and things like that. Like I just like you say this thing like when we pray for people that like if their pain hasn't fully gone away, that you know, we don't serve a halfway God. Like we serve a God that like performs miracles. And I think that like that's super true. And I don't know if I would have believed that fully before coming here. And not because I didn't think that God was real or that God was powerful, but just because it's like it goes back to that whole question of like, why does God let bad things happen? Like maybe because it's just like, that's the world, you know? Like, but that's not what I see now. And so just like, yeah, I just feel like it's very apparent that God is in the ministry in the ways that he just like provides things when you need them. Like even financially, like you kind of just go step by step, and I think that like God takes care of you in those ways. And one big way, okay, that God recently did come through for me is that I didn't have a car, you know, and I like go to college. I'm going to be a junior at school in Toledo, which is not really like friendly to public transit and things like that. And so I was just like really frustrated about the fact that I'm going to go back to Toledo and I can't afford a car in the near future at all. And I was like, you know, like I've never asked God about that. I've just kind of been like, this is my financial situation. That's tough. And so I was like, you know, I should start praying about that. And I didn't pray about it. I was just like, I should ask God about that. Like, that makes sense. Why haven't I thought about that? And literally that day, like, your friend said that she would give me their car. Like, just give it to me as a gift. And so it's like, God gave me a car? Question mark. You know,
After
like,
you thought about praying for
after
it?
like, I didn't even pray for it. And it's like, God's like, you know, like I can do whatever I want with timing, right? Like I'm not like constrained to your finances or to like time frames and stuff like that. Like
And that wasn't something we talked about, right?
No,
so there's
not
no way
at
that
all.
we've like set that up or anything.
we had not spoken about that at
Yeah.
all. Like I was just like privately praying about that, and then literally like within 24 hours I had the title to the car. I'm like, geez, God, okay. Like, it's like I have some kind of like rich dad in heaven that's just like, here, have a gift.
You kind of do.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I have a pretty rich dad in heaven. Like,
Yeah.
look at you. Like, in a good way. Yeah, so like that was just crazy, and like you can chalk that up to serendipity or like coincidence or whatever, but like no, you know what I mean? Like that was God, and I feel very confident about that, and I have never experienced something so tangible personally that God has given me, or at least that I've recognized, because I'm sure that God has given me big gifts that I like haven't attributed to, you know, this is God working. But that like I was just like in this position to receive something, and God just like was like, here's a person who I know is generous, like, and will, you know, provide this for you. And just like the way that was arranged is like still blows my mind.
Yeah, that's really, really cool.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
I say still, it's been like 2 days. Like,
yeah, that's a
still.
story that you'll carry with you
Yeah.
your entire life, though. Right?
Yeah, it's like if someone's like, when did you get a car? I'll be like, God gave it to me.
Right.
And then they'll think I'm crazy.
And it's not even like a crap car.
Yeah, it's like a good car. Like, what?
Well, cool. Well, let me just check and make sure that nobody else had any questions. If you have any questions for Maddie, this is your last chance. But just, Maddie, any other thoughts? Anything that you would like me to know? Anything that we can make better? Open-ended.
I don't know. I feel like I want to have some kind of like witty response to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard.
It is. It is. I don't know. I really think like that God is in this project, and that like, I mean, with COVID happening and this timing, like it's like the school is needed more, but it also seems like it's more difficult to make happen.
Yeah.
And that like God's just gonna take care of it. Like the fact that you have this building and aren't just like creating a new structure, but you have this building that's a historical like location to refurbish and to use as this amazing space is like just going to be a testament to how big God works and how God takes these things that like seem really broken and like just homes for birds, and uses it to like generate these writers and content creators who are going to take control of the media. And like I'm very confident that that is going to happen, and like it's just really cool to be here at the beginning stages of that.
Yeah. Why did you come?
I had nothing better to do. I'm just kidding. I'm kind of kidding. I mean, like, there were a couple, like, I had to leave school because everybody was quarantined and I lived in the dorms. And so I was, like, moving back in with my parents, you know, like a Gen Zer does. And I was just, like, every morning I would just, like, read on my porch. And I was, like, reading these books about, like, knowing yourself and, you know, like, all of these, like, self-help, like meta, you know, things like that. And I just felt like God was saying that like he had more for me, and that I was becoming too comfortable and just like sitting on my parents' couch and like sleeping till 1 a.m. or not 1 a.m. to 1 a.m., 2 p.m., you know, like stuff like that. Like I was just like in this rut, and I felt like God like was saying like, if you want, I've got something going on. And that the school was just like there. And it was, you know, the tangible next step. And so it just seemed like the leap to take. I don't know. It just seemed right.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Any questions for me?
I've asked a lot of questions.
Sure. And you don't have to ask it now. Well, cool. Well, let's just pray for you then.
Okay.
Cool. So, Lord, I'm just so thankful for Maddie, God, and just the way that you placed her here, God, all the things that we've learned from her and the way that she's been helpful to the school. God, we just bless her. God, we just see the way that you blessed her already with this experience. We're so thankful, God, that you are faithful to show up. You know, when we take risks, when we take steps in faith, that you always show up. And so we just give you all the glory for all that. God, I pray that you would seal the work that you've done in Maddie. God, all the progress and all the things that you learned that are from you. God, I pray that you would seal that up. God, that you'd just make that sure and steadfast inside of her. God, and you take her on to the next step where she can, you know, continue to add treasure inside of her from you. So, Lord, I thank you so much that you've just allowed us to be a part of her life. You've allowed us to invest in her and to just be her friend and to be honest with her in different ways, God. And so we thank you so much for everything that you're doing. You know, we thank you for just each person watching this that might see themselves in Maddie's shoes, Lord. And we just ask for your continued blessing on this ministry and on this organization. And we thank you so much, Jesus. Amen. Yeah, cool. Well, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. And this is Maddie Paquette. Keep your eye out. I'm sure she'll do amazing things in the future. All right, we'll see you guys.